Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're taking a look at Spider-Man Miles Morales. I didn't know if this game was DLC or a standalone game for the longest time until like 5 days ago when I found out, hey Charlie, you fucking idiot, it actually is a standalone game. So that was kind of a nice surprise because I liked Spider-Man on the PS4 even though I don't remember shit about the story. I remember really enjoying the combat and just kind of the whole experience. So I was pretty happy to slap back in the butt plug and get back in the action here in this universe. And I have to say, even though it is a standalone game, it felt like I was just playing DLC. It's an extremely short game. It took me 5.5 hours to beat it start to finish with a couple of breaks in there, and I did like 5 or 6 side missions, which isn't a ton, but it's not like I only beeline the story, and it was really short. Granted, this isn't a full price game, it's $50, but even still, $50 for the amount of content you get here seems pretty steep. Like, it really does feel like DLC. I remember when this got announced, all the gaming outlets were like, hey, people, don't fucking get too high of expectations. This is DLC, it's not a standalone. And then it turns out it is actually a standalone. So, I mean, it was confusing with the launch, but it really does feel like it was meant to be DLC. I don't know how all the other side missions went because I only did 5 or 6, but they were really uninteresting. Pretty much all of the side missions were go around the city and listen to sounds to finish a mixtape, go around the city to collect these time capsules, go around the city to fetch this, fetch that, or do these challenges around the city. Like, really boring, uninteresting side content. The only actual meat was the main story, like the main narrative moments. And the city did feel alive, though. There were times where, like, hey, there's a helicopter gone loose. It's been hacked by some bad guys. I have to go re-hack it and get it back under control, shit like that, which is cool because it makes the city feel alive. But other than that, it's just really boring side objectives to do. So you're not really going to spend too much time doing that, I imagine, unless you're trying to help yourself fall asleep at night. You'll probably just stick on the main story, which there isn't a lot of because it's so short. And I think the length of the story really hurts its narrative. I don't think the game is poorly written. I don't think the characters are poorly written or anything. But because it's so short, everything goes at a breakneck pace. Like, it'll rip your titties off with how quickly this game is moving around. Like, 1 second you're friends with someone, and then 30 seconds later, in the next scene, they're threatening to just rip your fucking face off. They're threatening to murder you. And there's really no build up to that. You never have that emotional investment. For example, when you're faced with a new villain, you're like, oh, who's behind this mask? And then in the next scene, it shows you instantly who's behind that mask. You don't even have 10 minutes to think about it. It just immediately tells you everything and shows you everything because the game is just moving so quick. Because it's a very short game, and I think it really suffers because of that. When there's supposed to be emotional moments in the story, they don't really feel impactful, they don't feel like they have any weight, because you didn't really get to grow with the characters or see them together, interact with them or anything. It's all just super abrupt. And I don't think it's because of bad writing or anything like that or a shitty script. I really do think it's just because it's such a compact game that they tried to put so much into it that they couldn't quite get all the marks they needed to build up to these things and make them feel important. And it feels like this game was really, really, really meant to just be a DLC appetizer that eventually got spun into a full game. That's definitely what it feels like. Now, the combat, though. The combat is a drastic improvement over Spider-Man PS4. Even though Spider-Man on PS4 had great combat, this is even better, significantly better. I loved the combat. The combat never got old. It was super flashy, super fun. It's like Arkham free flow combat, but to the next level. There's so many options. You have different gadgets you can mix and match in your attacks, a lot of combos that you can unleash, a lot of options for approaching the fight. You can do stealth, which I almost never did because it was just more fun to do all of these cool moves and these finishers and just so much when it comes to combat that I loved about it. You can cancel pretty much everything with a dodge, so you can be like doing some crazy combo dodge and then right there pick up the combo again. It's just beautiful. It really is. The combat shines. The combat is absolutely excellent. Also, in terms of combat, I was a little disappointed with the lackluster amount of like skills you can have. There's only like 10 or 12 total skills, I think. I don't know. It's like 8 per tree. So what is that? 8 times 3. So 24 total skills, I think, if that. And some of the skills are just totally useless. Like, you know, you'll throw a punch and you get an extra 2% damage behind the punch or something. So there's just really not a whole ton of content in the game. There really just isn't. And it's not a full price game, yeah, but $50 still is a bit high for how much you get out of it, unfortunately. Now, one thing I want to say in regards to the story and everything, though, is that every cutscene in this game is absolutely beautiful. I think the game looks fantastic, and I absolutely love the combat cutscenes in particular. They are so goddamn cool. Just so much like acrobatic aerial shit going on, using your webs in all kinds of cool ways in these cutscenes. The QuickTime events I could go without. I don't really care about QuickTime events. Just show me the cool shit. I don't have to feel like I'm behind the wheel there. So I don't, the cutscene, the QuickTime events, I could take or leave them, but the actual content of those cutscenes is so fucking cool. I loved it. It was some really flashy shit. It was really, really cool. I just want to point that out because I had a big old smile on my face during some of those combat scenes in the beginning. Awesome shit. And the set pieces, like when you're doing like a chase or something, is great. And that brings me to the next thing I want to compliment, the movement. The web swinging in this game, perfect. I know every Redditor in the world likes to bitch and moan and complain about how every Spider-Man game isn't as good as Spider-Man 2's web swinging mechanics. This one has to be significantly better. It is objectively better. There's no argument you can make for Spider-Man 2's web swinging being better than this game's. This is the best it has ever been. Moving around the city is so fun, and it is just probably one of the best parts. Like, you never really want to do fast travel in this game. You're always just going to want to swing there because it's just enjoyable. It's just so carefree. You can do little stunts and tricks in the air, and it's just really nice. I really, really loved it. I loved just getting around this city. I absolutely can't praise that enough. They did a great job with that, and I don't think anyone will be disappointed in that area. There's just no way, because I think it's perfect. This is exactly how the web swinging should be. If they do more Spider-Man games in the future, they just need to copy and paste what they did in this one because it just works so well. I absolutely loved it. It really, there's a lot I like about the game, and the things I don't like, I really do think are just because the game is so expensive for so little content. It does feel like this was meant to be like a $20 DLC for Spider-Man on the PS4, and they stretched it to a full price game at a standalone, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I still think the game is good, and the combat is definitely a lot of fun, and even the puzzles are kind of fun too. They're not the most complicated and the most thought-provoking puzzles in the world, but they're pretty enjoyable too, just to solve little things with your webs. But the game is just pretty dry in terms of content for $50. At $20, I'd say, yeah, this is definitely something you'd want to pick up. But $50, I think, is a little steep for how much is actually in the game. So plugging Spider-Man Miles Morales into the moist meter, I'm giving this bad boy a 70%. I enjoyed my time with it. It was a very short experience. I don't want to revisit for the side quests because everything I saw was just a bunch of fetch quests, which isn't super interesting to me. I think that was put in there just for padding. So I'm not going to really go back for that. And yeah, overall, it was good though. I did like it, and that's about it. So yeah.